Jazzcast Pros.
Hello there, my graceful grinders, totally uniquers, and C-suite sisters. Welcome back to another episode of the Grace and Grind podcast, where we spotlight powerful women who are not only leading in boardrooms, but blazing trails in life. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion, and today's guest embodies everything this podcast is about: grace, grind, and the continued climb. Lady Trenette Wilson, also known as Lady T, is a nationally celebrated author, speaker, and the visionary founder of the National Association of Urban Etiquette Professionals. Her voice has shaped how we see etiquette, not just as rules of refinement, but as tools of empowerment, dignity, and influence. She's the author of multiple books that have transformed lives, a leader who has cultivated urban etiquette as a movement, and now she's expanding her impact through her brand new YouTube series, Hunter's Point. Today, we're going to unpack her journey, the grace that's carried her through, the grind that's propelled her, and the climb she's still on as she continues to write, teach, and lead. So, my C-suite sisters, get ready to be inspired, challenged, and reminded that no matter where you start, your climb is not done yet. Lady Trenette, welcome to the Grace and Grind podcast.
Oh, it is my honor and pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I'm so excited.
I am so excited too. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, and this is how we initially met through a mutual acquaintance, about your upcoming YouTube series, Hunter's Point. I'm so upset that I'm not a part of this, okay? I just need to put that out there, that I hate that I missed out on that opportunity, but I'm so excited. I can't wait to listen in. Tell us the heart behind Hunter's Point. What message are you hoping viewers to walk away with after listening to your series?
It is really a message to Black people about who we are. So oftentimes in the media, we are depicted in ways that are not always positive, and certainly not always in the past. So in the 1800s and 1900s. So often if you see that chasm there, you'll think, well, maybe all we were subservient. Maybe all we were slaves. And what I want the world to know, and most of all, what I want our culture to understand and know, is that not only did we come from kings and queens, but we also came from entrepreneurs, architects, lawyers, doctors, and people who really shaped our world. And so you'll see a lot of that in Hunter's Point. I am bringing alive that time period, the Gilded Age and right after, of who we were in that elite Black area in space that we often don't get seen in. So I'm hoping people walk away with hope and joy and pride in our Black culture.
I love it. I am so excited to listen in. And you mentioned the Gilded Age. Anything that is a period piece, if it's listening to it or watching a documentary, I just absolutely am totally engulfed in it because I loved that era. And I love that you said that you want the Black community to walk away with pride. You want us to walk away with hope. And that is an empowering message for any type of platform to give. That is an empowering message. So thank you for that. And I'm sure my listeners will also, once we get a chance to delve into the first series. And speaking of that, when does your first episode air?
So it airs on October the 10th, 2025 at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard, a time there on the Royal Black and Elite YouTube channel. And that's my channel that I host.
I love just the name of the channel, Royal Black and Elite. And it speaks to Hunter's Point.
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure that that whole message that I continue to send throughout whatever I'm doing as an etiquette consultant, as someone who works to elevate the thinking and the engagement of our people. I wanted to not only do it in that arena, but also creatively and artistically. So yes, it just rides right through royal, black, and elite.
I absolutely love it. So, as I told you before we jumped into the podcast, I explained to you that I mostly work with C-suite women executives. And so I have a question for you that would be more appealing to them. So, if a woman in leadership or transition were to watch Hunter's Point, what wisdom do you hope she carries into her own leadership climb?
I just love that question because Hunter's Point is set in a time when women weren't thought of as intelligent or as business owners. And in the show, you will see business owners who are women during that period because guess what? There were women who were business owners. So what I want women to take away from when they watch this, especially executives, is that you may be the first. Everything, the whole landscape may be different than what you think that it should be, but you deserve to be there. Walk in there with confidence, confident in your abilities, in your knowledge, your background, and your wisdom. Never be ashamed of who you are and never cower down in the face of greatness because if you're in that room, you are great too. And it's a way to do that without coming off being arrogant or being unapproachable, but it's being comfortable in your skin, no matter what environment that you're in. So that's what I hope. I hope they walk out empowered and understand that they belong in every room that they're in.
Listen, I think our baby sisters are going to absolutely love that framing from that aspect. I was at a meeting today. I guess you would call it a meeting or an open house, and I was meeting some prospective clients, and it was all young people in there just fighting for the same opportunity, and they were only selecting like 15 people, and I don't know, like so, let's say 75, 80 people came in there, young people, and I went around and I met every single one of them that were in the room at the same time that I was. And I explained to them that don't look at what you see as competition. Don't, all you have to know is that you came in here with your set of special skills and that this
Yes,
is
yes.
your opportunity. You have to come in here and own the room. And so I told them, I said, even though I have on jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers, before I walked in this door, I owned the room.
Yes. Yes.
And they were like, you own the room, Dr. Pam? I said, I own the room. I said, I don't care if someone was in here in a 3-piece tuxedo and I'm dressed down. I still, in myself, the conversation that I have with me is that I don't care what anybody else looks like. I don't care what skills they have. I don't care what educational level they're bringing into this room. This room is mine and I own it. And I walk in there like I own it, empowered and motivated for myself, you know? So I love that message. I think that is absolutely wonderful. And just to piggyback off of that question, I'd like to ask if you could place just one sentence from your body of work, because you've written so many books, and I really want to talk about that as well. But if you could just place one sentence from your body of work in the hands of every C-suite woman listening today about embracing her own power, her own polish, and her own potential, what would that one sentence be?
You know, more than anything, that you are equipped to fulfill your purpose. Oftentimes, we think you have a shortage of what we need to succeed, but you are equipped. You have it all within you. So what happens is you need to polish it to bring it out. So you are equipped. And so that's what I would say. Don't go into a room feeling that you're inadequate, that you're not educated enough, but that you have the skills that you need. Again, it may take some polishing. It may take some deeper level of learning so that you can become a master at it. But you are equipped to do what you have been purposed to do here on this earth.
I love that. Oh, I just love that. You are so right about that. And I think the key thing is the polishing piece, because you may walk into a room and someone may, out educate you, someone may outdress you, someone may have more experience than you, but that does not mean that you cannot also ascertain those same level of skills and education and attire. It just requires a little bit of polishing so that you can reach that level or that acumen, whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve. So yeah, that's great advice. Now let's talk about some of this writing that you've done. You've written extensively on etiquette, empowerment, and leadership. Which one of your books most reflects where you are in this current season of your life, and why?
So that is a beautiful question because in our life, a lot of times as business women, when we enter the market, we're a person, and sometimes we feel like we can't transition out of being who we were when we began. And so when I first began, I used to work with teens and youth, and as time has evolved and 60 is knocking on the door now, I realized that it's time to really reach back and help my young women. So right now, my Poised for Purpose young adult etiquette program is my favorite, piece of material that's out there. I just love it that we're teaching young women, young adult women how to, carry themselves. And it's more from a finishing school aspect. So that's the one.
Yes, and it's so needed. Now, let me ask you something, because we're both etiquette professionals, and you're in Dallas, I'm in New York, and I want to ask you, I want to find out if we experience the same problems in our different states. So sometimes when I am approaching an organization, a school, or business, or whatever, or even parents, and I'm offering my programs, do you sometimes get pushback or people not understanding the importance of it, or not really seeing how it would benefit them as a lifelong skill, or not wanting to invest in it? Do you experience that in Texas as I do in New York?
Well, we're Southerners down here. So Southern charm, big hair, red lipstick. We beauty teas. This is something that is valued here most of the time in the southern region. We do a lot of beauty contests, debutante balls, things, even still today, things like that. So the value of it, they understand how they need it. However, I do sometimes feel that I run into people who feel like they'll never use it because they'll never be in a environment where etiquette is required. So then we have to teach that etiquette is every day, everywhere, all the time. So now, so that they can understand it, it's not just for the kitchen table or the boardroom, but it's for relationships. It's how well you communicate, how you present yourself. So teaching them the level and scope of etiquette. I think they know what it is, but the scope of it, and then the value of it is how for us, we're used to paying for things. So, but as I move north, yes, ma'am. In the Midwest, yes, ma'am. I do see where we do have to work a little harder to communicate its
Yeah,
value.
we may have to do a little work together on that, because I have some things in my mind. I'm sure you do as well, where we can come together and do something that is really a movement, if you will, because I get a lot of pushback here in New York, and I don't know if it's a north south thing. I don't know if that's it, or if it's just that people, like you said, just don't, they see the value but not really understand the scope of why it's valuable. So that may be it. So,
Exactly.
but we can talk about that a little bit too more offline. All right, so out of all of your feedback that you've received from readers, is there one story or testimony that deeply affirmed your purpose for why you put out so much information about etiquette and empowerment?
Oh my goodness. So the whole idea that a woman of color is in this space that can walk again from the boardroom, from the uttermost to the guttermost. And we can be beautiful, we can be smart. So we're giving them a different view of what femininity is, what being a boss is, what being an executive is. So, of all of these things, I am just happy to hear women who come to say to me, Lady T, what I love about you is that you are authentically you. I have a gap. I'm very proud of that. I have no problem with it. People just love it. So accepting all of you and being able to flow in those spaces confidently. Whereas maybe when you're younger, you don't know about, how to love yourself in that way. But etiquette, image etiquette, dining etiquette, business etiquette, taking those classes, being certified in those areas taught me how to love this package that God had wrapped me with. And so that's what I take most from the women who I talk to. Thanks for teaching me how to be me and beautiful, in my own package.
Yes, that is so absolutely important for women of all walks of life, young and old, that
Absolutely.
you are enough and you matter. I love that, love that, love that. All right, now I want to talk about this National Association of Urban Etiquette Professionals. When I saw that, I have to tell you, I was blown away, because you know how you get, God will give you something in your mind and you'll say, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And then I run across this and I'm like, okay, yes, someone's doing it and doing it well. And I'm so proud of the work that you're doing and the educating that you're doing for even the etiquette consultants. So you pioneered this organization, trailblazing etiquette in spaces that many overlook. What inspired you to start this movement?
Now, this is really a funny story because I was a teenage mother and my children's father went to the NFL. And so I was thrust into a space that I was not equipped to handle at all. And so that is why I began to learn etiquette, because I wanted to represent him well, my race well, and I wanted to know how to behave in this environment. So as I began to learn and go into and be in the environment, I said, well, wait a minute, these are a lot of girls who just like me, from, not necessarily the hood, but maybe have not experienced this. And the word etiquette means ticket.
Right,
Ticket means access.
right.
So etiquette opens doors and gives you opportunity and access to things. So I said, well, I tell you what, I want to teach etiquette because I want girls who look like me and who want to progress in their life the ticket they need to the access. So when they sit at a table with a billionaire or millionaire, they don't feel inadequate. They understand that I said earlier, belong here, but they're also equipped to know what to do, what fork to use, where to leave the napkin if they're leaving the table, what even to dress in that environment. So that's what inspired me being totally ill-equipped to deal with that next level of my life.
Listen, isn't it funny how life just catapults you into these situations, and you have to be successful in it. So you have to, and sometimes you have to create the tools that you need to go in the toolbox.
Well, and that's why I did create NAU, because there was not an association per se who was working with etiquette instructors who were focusing on underserved
Right,
communities. And some of the challenges that those women and men face going into those type of communities, one being, as you just discussed, them not understanding the value of the information, and some of them not even knowing that, hey, your kid needs to know how to operate in this environment.
right.
And so that's what really opened my heart. I wanted women and men to know how to go in those environments and not get discouraged.
Yes, and it's important. It's important that when you walk into a room that you are equipped. I share a similar story when I'm speaking. I always tell part of my story of how I got involved in all of this. People call it glamour and beauty and all this, but I don't look at it as glamorous and beauty aspect. I just look at it as whole person wholeness. And
Mm-hmm.
etiquette
Mm-hmm.
is just one piece of that whole person wholeness, one piece of it, but it is a very empowering and important piece because it can make or break a job interview, a relationship, a business relationship, a networking opportunity if you do not know how to conduct yourselves. And all of these different contextual examples of life that we walk through, and you just, it's not misbehaving, it's ignorance because you don't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
And sometimes you don't even know. People don't even know that they don't know.
That they don't know. Exactly. I have a book that'll be coming out next year called Respect the Game, and that is for young adults. And it's because they come into a situation and they don't understand what they're doing or how they're dressed is inappropriate. And unfortunately, they're not going to tell you what you have done is wrong.
Right.
You just won't call back. You won't get the job,
Right.
and you won't know why you didn't get it.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because when I worked in HR, that was one of the things that I would do when someone interviewed with me and I didn't select them, I would let them know so that on their next interview they can improve. I think sometimes we do a great disservice to young people when we don't give them the information that they need to show them how, or to tell them how they need to improve on whatever it is where they may have a deficit. How do I fix it?
Well, I think that's why that young adult etiquette program is so important to me right now, is because, articles are coming out saying millennials are being fired at quicker rates than anyone else. And they're being fired for reasons that firmly fit within the etiquette tent.
Correct.
Things like dressing properly, showing up late, a lot of times not communicating, social media. So things that we teach in etiquette, and for some may seem, oh, this is simple, they should know this. But unfortunately, they're losing their jobs because they don't understand
Right.
the value
Right.
of it. And I think that's where we can where you were talking about partnering, is teaching others the value of what etiquette really brings to life.
Absolutely. And if this is your first job, you've never worked before, but this is your first job, how do you know about the playing field? How do you know the rules of the game if this is my first job? I'm fresh out of high school. What do I do if it's not taught in my home? I am a COVID kid, so something that I may have learned in high school, may not have, but may have, I missed it in my junior and senior year because of COVID. How do I now enter into the workplace without the skills? My mother doesn't have the skills. My father doesn't have the skills. Or if they do, they're not passing those skills down so that I know how to go in and secure a job. Not only secure the job, but the key thing is to retain the job, right? Right? To retain the job. So if they aren't learning these skills at home and they're not learning the skills at school and they don't want to come to us, how do they get the skills?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I do really focus on these communities, because it is so important. So that's also why I also founded the Royal Black and Elite YouTube channel, because through history they love learning about themselves and love learning about what made a person successful. And what we see in our history is that decorum, deportment, etiquette was extremely important to the advancement of people. So, you again, by retelling our story and bringing it up, saying, no, 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 this behavior is well beneath who we are as a people. You don't only just represent your mama, dad, you represent us all. And so bringing that back to light, and making that a positive, thing, not something negative, but making it positive. Then we work with school officials. We also work with city officials. So we work with different audiences to help them understand how etiquette helps with classroom management. We have a program called the Etiquette Ambassadors Program, and that is for elementary and junior high school. And so we teach at an earlier age group because we know intervention has to come earlier. If we're getting them in the sixth grade, it's too
It's
late.
too late.
We have
You are so
it's too late.
correct. So,
Yes, ma'am.
oh my God, like you don't even know, you just struck a nerve in me that is tingling right now because In my dissertation, I did research on social skills development and how critical they are as early as, preschool. Learning the character development and in elementary school, even, simple things like learning how to share and to cooperate. Those are all social skills or soft skills, whatever you want to call them. But if you have those skills and they're honed while you're early, imagine when you get into the workforce and now you know how to cooperate, you know how to collaborate, you know how to share, you have a strong moral character and moral compass, and your integrity is sound because you learned some skills in preschool, in Sunday school. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you,
Absolutely.
I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you,
Well, and the thing is, those things come into play as an adult worker in ladies,
right.
in corporate environment. Your character, your integrity, it
It
matters in
matters.
those work environments. And so, yes, I thought we should start earlier. I think we should start earlier. So on that end, but also on what you're doing through your podcast, what you're doing through your business and etiquette, what I'm doing here in Texas, working with adults in the corporate environment is extremely important as well, because these are the younger kids' parents.
Right.
So etiquette starts at home.
Right.
We can teach you we're blue in the face, but if it's not reinforced in the home, then our mission is going to not work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why anytime I do any type of training or give a keynote or coaching or anything, I tell them that the crumbs will taste like the cake. So if you are lemon cake and you want your children to taste like lemon cake, then you have to pass down lemon cake characteristics because the crumbs are going to taste like the cake. And so you can't teach all of this stuff to the kids and leave the parents out because the parents are the cake.
Exactly. That's good. That's
The
good.
parents are the cake. And so a lot of times we focus on the children. A lot of trainers, we focus on the kids needed, the kids needed, the kids needed. But if the kids come to me for an hour and a half a week, or 2 hours a week, and then they are thrusted back into their environments for the rest of the week, I get 2 hours. And they go back into their environment where they're comfortable, where they live, where everything is happening around them, and it's not a place that embraces etiquette because the parents have not been brought into it. It's
Exactly.
difficult for the children to go in there and thrive because what happens is you're acting bougie. You're
Exactly.
acting white. You
Yeah.
need to turn in your black card.
Yes.
All of those types of things. So yes, I think it's critical that when we're teaching that we have an each one reach one type of model. So whatever you are learning, whatever you can teach to someone else in the home, because that's how our ancestors did it.
Exactly. Exactly.
They passed it down. The slaves that worked in the big house took the skills that they learned in the big house back to the slave quarters, and they taught the field slaves how to be more poised, how to have self-respect, how to have black pride. Even though you're working in the field, still embody black pride, because that's something that no one can take out of you. No one can take that out of you if you're empowered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're teaching the history of successful, regal, rich, elegant, educated Black pioneers, because for some people, it's not re education, it's education the first time.
I cannot tell you how many people come to my channel, and I'm so thankful. 43,000 subscribers, 2 million views. So I know that the subject is resonating with people. And I can't tell you how many times people call me full of pride, just proud to know that these people existed then. And then when we look across our landscape even today, women like yourself, women like who are even listening today on the podcast, who have done some amazing work in the business and corporate environment. And I am just honored through Royal Black and Elite to continue to tell those stories of women like us, men who really embody elegance, beauty, professionalism. This is what's going to take us to the next level.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm really am so just full of pride about the
Yeah.
channel,
You
and
should
what
be.
God is doing through it, and all of the people that it is touching and enlightening about who we really are. We are truly
Yeah.
royal, black, and elite.
Yes, and you should be proud of it because I mean, I just love the title of it. I love what it represents. And you know why when Chandra called me about having you on the podcast and she said the name of it, just the name of it alone, I resonated with that
Thank you.
because it embodies grace and grind. It embodies that because, and the reason why I say it embodies that is because a lot of us, like myself, like you, I wasn't born into this silver spoon era. I didn't have that. My mother didn't have that. My mother didn't know how to teach that. My mother didn't embody that. It was survival. I am going to teach you how to survive. Watch my grind. Watch my grind. If you watch my grind, you will never go hungry a day in your life, right? And then on the flip side of that, I had my godmother who was graceful and elegant and just the epitome of, I mean, it was like the first time I saw a lady in real life that I was like, wow. Like I put her up there with Catherine Chancellor and Nikki Newman and because
Yes.
that's what I saw. I
Mhm.
saw that,
Mhm.
from a TV aspect that I was attracted to that. I wasn't attracted to good times. You know what I'm saying? I watched the show. I wasn't attracted to Sanford and Son. I watched the show, but I didn't like the depiction and it didn't make me feel good about being black, right? But when I watched Young and the Restless, I thought, imagine if those women were black. And then Dynasty came out and Dominique Devereaux.
Dominique Devereaux.
Baby, baby. I said that's who I want to be
That's who
right
I
there.
want to be. That's it.
That's who I want to be right there. And so and that's why I'm really loving this Royal Black and Elite because it really it embodies the essence of going from that grind to exhibiting that grace while you're doing it and simultaneously because the two go together. And in our lives, most black folk lives, we've experienced the grind. We know about the grind. We know how to do the grind all day long, right? But then when you come in and you polish it and you're teaching the skills that you and I both teach, and now women can walk in, even though the grind is in them and they need that grind, right? Because the grind is what makes you who you are, right? We need that grind. I wouldn't trade my grind for anything in the world because it made me who I am and it makes me effective at what I do. Because now when I go back, just like you, when you go back, and to the community, you can say, I was you. I was you. And if I could do it, you can do it. And that's that grace emulated, where they're like, oh yes, I want to be like that. Like how we looked at Dominique Devereaux. These young people, these young ladies are looking at us saying, I want to be like Dr. Pamela and Lady T.
Yes, indeed. Well, and
Isn't that empowering?
it is so empowering, and they need that. I remember the first time when people saw Michelle Obama for the first time and how black women across the world and little black girls across the world were just, they felt I know I felt a sense of pride. This is
Yes.
my first lady who was so beautiful, poised, and elegant. And for so long, we have had to be the provider. We frying up the bacon, catching the bacon, cooking the bacon, shop, all of it. And what
All
we
of
were able to do is when we saw Dominique Devereaux, when we saw First Lady Michelle Obama and Dr. Pamela and Lady Trenette, is giving women permission to lean into their femininity, to walk
Yes.
in their grace, and understanding that grace does not mean that you have no power. It's
Right.
grace is power under control. And
That's right.
so to be able to walk in your power and your grace, I think that's what I'm doing is all about. And I pray that, that people are blessed every time they watch a show or when they tune into Hunter's Point. I just hope they're transformed to a world that really we lived in and we created for ourselves. But the media doesn't want to show it for some reason.
Right. Now, you said something that I want to just expound on a little bit, because a lot of times people think if I'm graceful, if I'm ladylike, if I'm feminine, that means I'm soft. Right.
Or
And so it's often misunderstood as softness.
Or I would
But
say
we know that it's not.
Right. And I would even take it a step further and say it's perceived as weakness.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, soft, because I do believe that for so long, women have, especially in our experience, have been viewed as we're supposed to be strong, hard, we can fight the dog, we can fight a grown man, we can fight the kids. It is not true. Black women are dying at levels like never before from strokes, heart attacks. They're experiencing mental breakdowns. And it's because they have bought into this lie that we're supposed to take the whole world and carry it on our shoulder, or that we're supposed to throw on a cape every time somebody needs rescuing. And so what I'm trying to do is repaint and retell that story. No. I have been married for 35 years. I don't know where a hubcap is, and I don't care to know. And it's And so for women to see women like us and say it's okay to be that way, and it's not that we're weak, but we understand our strength. I think we have to continue to push for that message.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And absolutely. So how do you embody your grace as strength? And how has grace been your superpower, your secret superpower?
Oh my goodness. I try to use it in every area of my life to be graceful in any type of situation I'm in. So what is gracefulness? Gracefulness is appropriateness, understanding the right words to use, understanding your behavior and the right, engagement in that moment, how to act in that moment. So I bring grace into every arena that I step in. And it's been my superpower because it disarms people. Because nowadays people are so brash, and so grace truly disarms them. It softens their stance because it brings back memories of perhaps their auntie or their mom or that person, like you just said, who embodied grace for them. So it takes them back to a time of something that really meant something in their past. And so it has helped me in that way of being my superpower. And then the end, it allows me the favor to be able to create a Hunter's Point, to create NAU. I mean, can you imagine bringing together 200 Black women from across the country to all agree on one subject?
Girl. Listen, two women, just two women.
Okay.
Let alone 200.
200. So I've used that grace in allowing for women to be able to see that I'll allow them to be who they are, the powerful women they are. They are consultants. They're strong. They're out there teaching. You women who are on this podcast today, you're in the boardroom. You're teaching. You're strong. But your strength truly is your grace, your smile, your being amenable when and again, it's not being weak. When I don't agree with something, I am able to communicate it in a way that gets my point across without me turning down Sister Girl Lane and the fist coming out. Right. And so you get a lot more respect when you're able to plead your case in a succinct and concise way versus the sister girl, route. So grace is your tool. You need to keep it in your toolbox.
You are so right. But, I think I agree with all of that. I embody grace in every arena that I have the privilege of being in. And it's sometimes surprising to people, right? Sometimes It's quite surprising to people because they expect us to come a different kind of way. But you know what really undergirds my grace? And I think that this is a missing key. And I'm actually writing a book on it right now. And it's a phrase that I coined called emotional etiquette.
Yes. Yes.
Because when you can understand that you do have things that reside in you that you didn't put there, you didn't want to be there, you want it out, and it has troubled you for decades,
Mm.
but it's still in there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a C-suite executive, right? You could be the CEO when you're in the boardroom and in the office and in the organization, but then when you go home with yourself, you don't even want to be with yourself because you are emotionally inept. It's emotional etiquette, being able to keep your emotions in control so that you can master your grace.
Yes. Yes.
Because when we turn down Sister Girl Lane, it's because we've allowed our emotions to take us there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
know for me, right? With as graceful as I can display, okay? Sister Girl is still in me. I can't take it out of me. It's a part of me, right? But it's a matter of keeping it under subjection when I need to so that I can carry out today's mission and to achieve the goals that I'm trying to achieve, to meet the people that I'm trying to meet, to penetrate these circles where I'm not invited in, but I'm coming in anyway,
Exactly.
right? And if I walk in there as Pam from the West Side versus Dr. Pamela from Totally Unique Educational Consultants,
Mm-hmm.
both of them reside in me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my emotional etiquette that gets me in the door, that allows me to stay inside the room, and that is the reason why I'm offered a seat at the table.
Well, I can
It's
so
because I've mastered my grace.
I absolutely agree. And emotional, and when you're talking about that emotional etiquette, a lot of times people respond out of their experience. So
Right,
they haven't been given those tools of
right.
how to respond appropriately in different situations. So you would think I don't have to teach a 25-year-old or 34-year-old emotional etiquette, but it is so necessary because they are losing their jobs because they're unable to control their emotions in a professional environment. So I think the
Absolutely.
work we do is just absolutely beautiful and awesome and needed. And I see it changing lives and giving girls opportunities that, they would
Absolutely.
have missed out if they had kept that same attitude.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
was speaking at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and I was teaching on adverse childhood experiences and how they impact us. And I combat everything with etiquette. I come against any kind of problem that people are telling me that they have with job, relationship, family, home, what children, whatever. I number one, we're gonna talk about God, number one. Number two, we're going to talk about your ACEs, your adverse childhood experiences, and how are you handling them? And are you handling them graciously, right? Do you have the emotional capacity to exhibit emotional etiquette? And 9 times out of 10, they do not. They, first of all, because nobody's ever heard of emotional etiquette because I created it, right?
Mhm. Exactly,
Number
exactly.
one, right? But number two, even just the two words coming together, the two words coming together is a message all by itself: emotional and etiquette.
Which is a difference in emotional intelligence. Because we for many years we've learned, okay, what is emotional intelligence? To me, intelligence is the definition, etiquette is the application.
There
And
you go.
so yeah, so that's the difference between the two. And too many times our young ladies and men in an executive setting don't know how to apply what to when. So you're
Right.
you're emotionally out of control because you don't understand that is not appropriate for this moment. And that's what we teach a lot in etiquette is appropriateness. What
Absolutely.
and I think over the history, we, During the civil rights period, so this is a part of my role back in elite learning and as a historian. Socially, what we learned is that during the civil rights period, we rejected etiquette. We rejected all of those rules because it was the remnants of slavery. It was a
Right.
remnant of subservience.
Right.
However, there was a set of elite blacks who
Right.
did understand the importance of etiquette. And they continue to send their kids to Switzerland to finishing schools. And they
Right.
continue to, enroll their kids. And then after the civil rights came out and the next generation of people came onto the scene, there was a clear delineation between the two. You could
Right.
tell the ones who had not only had an education, but had had that extra training that they
Right.
needed to fit into these audiences. Because why? Because they say, why are you acting white?
Right.
Or why do you talk white? Not
Right.
understanding that is not, it's not a white thing, you all.
It's appropriate.
It's just appropriateness.
Right. It's appropriate. And I like when we were having our phone conversation the other day and I was saying we have to teach young people how to code switch and you said they shouldn't have to code switch it. It should be just it is what it just is that.
It is just
Right? You shouldn't have to code switch into appropriate behavior. You
Mhm.
should already be exhibiting appropriate behavior.
And you should know what is appropriate and what is not appropriate.
Exactly.
We just had a discussion. A young lady wore a pencil skirt, very tight, and with a white button down to work. She's an educator. Now, the pencil skirt was extremely tight, and her posterior was
Mhm.
extremely large.
Mhm.
So you could see her shape from the front.
Yes.
And so the discussion is, the discussion is not, does she look nice? She looks nice. There's no
Is it
holes.
appropriate?
Is it appropriate? And that's what I see a lot, that etiquette teaches us what is appropriate when. And I cannot express that enough for you as professionals, as C-suite executives. You have to know what is, appropriate, what emotion is appropriate when. And usually in a professional setting, that is not a place for any emotion, really.
Exactly.
Other
Exactly.
than congratulations or something. But I just think that what we do is it's important, and more as competition is rising. I tell people right now, international etiquette is one of the fastest growing areas within our field. Why? Because the world has now come to us.
Yes.
So we have to
Yes.
understand how to move in and out of circles. You C-suite executives especially have to know how to move in and out of those international circles. So I just think
Absolutely.
etiquette is for everybody everywhere.
I'm so glad that it has moved from an elite status
Yes,
or a status of highborns or rich and royal and
yes,
it's appropriate for everyone. It's here for everyone. You aren't born with etiquette. You learn etiquette.
absolutely. Oh,
You learn it. You're not born with it because you are at the top of the tax bracket. That
mhm,
no.
no,
You learn etiquette. Everybody, no matter what their socioeconomic background is, can learn how to be appropriate
ma'am.
and when.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Everybody can learn that.
Every
All right.
that's the only thing about etiquette. It's for everybody, and it's been
It's
one
for everybody.
that it seems like it's not for everybody, but it truly is. So I'm glad you
It
said
is.
that. Yes.
It is. So we have time for one more question.
Okay.
And
Thank you
I
so
have
much. This has been great.
so
Thank you
thoroughly
so much.
enjoyed our talk, but I want to ask you this because I know legacy is important to you. So, what does legacy mean to you at this stage in your career? And what is it that you would want every woman listening today to take away about legacy and its importance?
Yes, yes. Well, as a historian, one thing I learned early on, that the word history means his story or her story. And in between that is a dash. And that is what you do while you're here on this earth. So from time you are born and to the time you leave here, your story is being written. And so what I would say, the legacy that I want to leave is that the story that I wrote is one of pride and hope and joy and a leveling up of our mind as to who we are. We are joint heirs with Christ. We are a royal priesthood. And so because of who we are in Christ, we must not live beneath what the cross already paid for. And
All
so
right now.
come on now, what a pity not to go in and cash $1 million check when the money is yours. And so I want us to cash in on the legacy that has been left for us. What is your story? What will be her story, his story? And in that, I'm a mother of 4. I have 4 grandsons as well. And so what I hope is that when they look back on Mama Trenette, that they will see, man, her story was us, teaching us how to love one another, how to grow and support one another.
What an incredible story. What an incredible conversation with Lady Trenette Wilson, from her groundbreaking work with the National Association of Urban Etiquette Professionals to her powerful books to the launch of Hunter's Point, which is coming out when, Lady T?
October 10th, 2025 at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on the Royal Black and Elite YouTube channel.
Love it. And Lady Trenette reminds us that etiquette is more than polish. You guys hear me say this all the time. It's presence, it's purpose, and it's power. And Lady Trenette's story is proof that grace doesn't mean weakness. Grind does not and should not mean burnout. And the climb never ends when your purpose is greater than your platform. So to all of my executive and C-suite sisters listening, take this episode as a call to rise higher in your own journey. Carry yourself with dignity, lead with wholeness, and always remember that you're not just climbing for yourself, you're paving the way for those who will come behind you. So, Lady Trenette, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your journey as you climb. I'm so grateful to have had this conversation with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all so much for having me, and congratulations. I am just honored to be in your presence, Dr. Pamela. Keep up the beautiful and wonderful work that you're doing too.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so now, my C-suite sisters, graceful grinders, and totally uniquers, that is all we have time for today. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion with Totally Unique Educational Consultants. And you guys know what I'm going to say, right? You guys know what I'm going to say. I want you to always remember to create your totally unique day on purpose. But also, my other message is I want you to also remember that you have the power to control how your trauma shows up in your life, how it impacts you, how you respond to it, and how much power you give it. So you do have the power. Now rise. All right. Until next time, take care, and we are out.